What will the world look like in 5 years? How about 15 years? How about 30? How will we educate when programming has become the first international language? How will we travel when we don't need to know the way? How will we heal when new organs can be printed on site? How will we work when our job is a thing of the past? How will we interact when virtual reality becomes the new reality? These are the questions that will shape our world, our governments, our families, our future. Introducing the World Government Summit, an international world-class event bringing together 3,000 world leaders from over 100 countries. Innovative perspectives on 50 of the future's most pressing questions in healthcare, education, technology, cities, and society. Asking tomorrow's questions today.
I want to begin with a quote from Winston Churchill. The farther you look behind, the farther you can see ahead. In order to see ahead the next 5 years to 10 years, 50 years, you have to look behind that much. Why? Because it is a single road. It goes here. It doesn't start suddenly. It draws on everything that went before it and becomes something new. So to begin this discussion, I want to begin with technology, because there is a belief here that technology is the key to geopolitical power. Well, perhaps it is. But let's first discuss technology. So, for example, this is an iPhone. You must have many of them. It's obviously a useful tool, and you have no idea of its history. I will now tell you its history. The cell phone was developed by the United States Army in the 1970s. It was first deployed by the US Army. So your cell phone is a military tool. The microchip was commissioned by the US Air Force to fly the F-14 and also cruise missiles. GPS, you use that to find your way around. So did the US Navy, which commissioned the building of the GPS squadron so its submarines could know where they are. There's, of course, the camera. We all love the camera. I don't, but my wife does. It was developed for a space satellite so that the film did not have to be dropped to Earth. It took pictures that could be transmitted as data to Earth. And of course, there's the internet, without which this wouldn't have any place, which is developed by DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, to move information from one point to another quickly, so we didn't have to mail it. In other words, to understand the technology of this age, you must understand the geopolitical requirements of the United States, the military that it created, and the technology that it really created as well. So you cannot look at the cell phone, the iPhone, the very cute little thing, the camera and everything else, without understanding its military origins. Now, what does this have to do with history? Well, the question is, how does Dubai or any country develop a military capability in the age of all these new technologies that are inviting? The answer is, look to your defense department. Look to your defense ministries. Why? Because the United States did something to create this technology. Not because it wanted to have a cell phone for you to use, but because it was trying to solve military problems. And those military problems had application to Apple. And Steve Jobs stole all these ideas. But in America, it's not stealing, because the US government is not permitted to hold on to technology. It cannot patent technology unless it's classified, and this wasn't. So he simply went and got together all this technology that was already there and used it. So the first element of new technology, artificial intelligence, or whatever you want to have, the first foundation of it has to be a need by some organization with enough money to invent the solution. And then the state must be generous at letting the private sector have it. If the United States refused to give it out, which, by the way, the Soviets also developed but wouldn't give out, we wouldn't have the technology now today. So there's an intimate connection, not between what technology is going to do for geopolitics, but what geopolitics does for technology. And if you look at the iPhone and think about it, and you think about the minds you have here in Dubai, and the resources and the money that you have here in Dubai, you understand the first thing that you must do is define your geopolitical needs, define the solutions that your technology allows you to have, and then make sure the private sector uses it very aggressively to create new industries. Every country can do it. The United States did. The Russians did, but they forgot to give it to private industry. And Dubai is a little country, but I will begin my analysis of geopolitics with something important. In the 1940s and 50s, great powers had to be huge. They had to be huge because the technology of bombers, of bombs, of warfare had enormous requirements in people. We are now at a point where the number of people that are engaged in geopolitical action, warfare, is much less. Stopping that capability also does not require an America-sized population or a China-sized population. It requires a skilled population, a population that is free to invent things, to experiment, to try things. And that is what I would like to urge on, it's not my place to urge anything, but what I think is necessary for Dubai is to understand that you do not have to be a massive power in population to be a great one. Look at Israel. Its population is hardly worth mentioning. It is a decisive force in the region. You're a lie. And one that is becoming globally significant because of the technologies it has.